Welcome to Transformation to Parenthood. I'm Dr. Lolly DeYoung. In this TV series, we'll explore the kaleidoscope of choices in pregnancy, birth, and early parenting. We'll look at where you birth, how you birth, and with whom you birth, and talk about infant feeding and healthy family living. Our aim is to support you in transforming into a parent who courageously uses their voice, respects the choices of others, and ultimately trust themselves.
When I was talking about the show, I thought to myself, this would be a really great resource for new parents and new mothers that are in the position that I'm in, that have questions, that don't know what to ask. And this was going to be a way for me to kind of find out what those questions were for myself.
My background is in human and organizational systems and human development. And just based on my own birth experiences, which were a number of years ago, I've come to the conclusion that people want to make their own choices, but they want to make informed choices. So what we're aiming to do with this TV series is to present information, to bring in subject matter experts, to talk to parents, and explore the kaleidoscope of choices that are available to new parents.
Oh yes, so you're trying to get a midwife, and how far along do you think you are?
For low-risk women, there is a better way to be doing these things. There's a time and a place to have the absolutely essential expertise of specialists, and there's also a time to welcome the expertise of low-risk care providers such as a GP, or most importantly a midwife, or as well as having a doula present. What you do for your child in labor and birth and in your postpartum time does not stop at your postpartum time. It's going to impact your child and subsequently healthcare, society as a whole for years to come. So don't underestimate the importance of what we're doing and how powerful we are as women and mothers.
Giving birth is deeply personal, and it's important to be surrounded by people that you trust. The choice of a primary caregiver is a significant one. In this episode, we'll speak with primary caregivers. We'll talk to family physicians, midwives, and obstetricians in both rural and urban settings. We'll also speak with them about how they collaborate to give the best care possible for mothers and babies.
There are 3 types of primary care providers for women and families having babies here in Alberta. There's registered midwives, there's OBs, and there's family physicians.
We need everybody, and we need options for people. So some people want to deliver in the level 3 NICU, everything is available. Other people want to deliver at home, and those options should all be available.
So registered midwives are the care providers who can look after low and medium risk pregnancies from early in the pregnancy right through to about 6 weeks postpartum.
The advantage of having midwives in the system, because we are so observant of what's going on, we're so close to the women and the process that they're going through, is that there'll be a greater understanding of what's normal and natural, and we'll be supporting those processes so that the transition for this woman and her family and the baby will be way easier.
I would say majority of women are indeed low-risk women. In fact, majority of women should qualify to be under care or care of midwifery.
There are 2 groups of physicians who would care for pregnant women throughout the pregnancy. In the initial part of pregnancy, a woman might be seen by her regular family physician, her GP, and then she would be transferred to a maternity group. The low-risk maternity physicians in Calgary generally have either additional training or specific interest and experience in pregnancy care, and as well as care of the newborn.
I trained as a nurse before I went into medicine, And what I really wanted to do was to be work in labor and delivery and be a midwife. And my plans changed, and I ended up in medicine, and I did a lot of extra training in obstetrics and maternity care during my medical training because my intention was to come and work in a rural area. It's a wonderful, amazing experience to be allowed to be involved in, because really that's what people are doing. They're inviting you to share a really, really special time with them, and I wanted to be part of that.
My role as a high-risk obstetrician is that I encounter families who are undergoing some degree of stress because of something in their pregnancy that has occurred, which was unexpected and obviously very stressful for them.
In some maternal fetal medicine practices, patients can be referred directly from, say, their family physician without any complication. But our practice is a little unusual compared to a lot of other centers, is we only see a consultation. So the patient has already been seen by another physician. Most of the time they've had an ultrasound elsewhere. And then the physicians have found that there's a problem either in the fetus or in the mother, and then they would refer the patient to us. And we don't take over the care of these women, we only provide consultation. So the physician or the provider that the patient was with, so it could be an obstetrician, it could be a family physician, it could be a midwife, they would continue to be the primary provider of that patient.
And I've always been very impressed at how much effort is put in on the part of the obstetricians to really see where our clientele is coming from.
We're very fortunate that we've developed some good relationships with our experts, our pediatricians and our obstetricians.
Under what circumstances would we encounter midwives? Well, probably two, either in the antenatal period or prior to delivery or during the labor and delivery process.
And I think over the course of the years we've had an opportunity to have very respectful, meaningful communications between obstetricians and midwives and the families.
From an obstetrical perspective, we really respect the midwives that we have here. We respect their training, we respect their experience and the relationships that they have with their clients. And we do try and really do appreciate and really do focus on a woman's autonomy and her choices. And we recognize that people have a certain desire to have their pregnancy and their delivery go a certain way. Our ultimate goal is healthy mom and healthy baby, but also recognizing that there is something for some people, very, very important about, their birth plan, and we want to appreciate that and support them in the best way that we can.
Giving birth close to home or at home is extremely important for many women. Particularly in rural, remote, and Aboriginal communities, and for vulnerable populations such as adolescent mothers and women with health conditions, there can be additional challenges. In this segment, we'll visit two rural communities, High River and Rocky Mountain House, and you'll hear about how physicians and midwives are working closely together to give the best care possible.
Sweet little head right there. Giant. Sweet little head. You know it's giant, okay.
Particularly in small places, historically everybody's done their own obstetrics. So this is my patient in my practice. She's pregnant. I see her for all the visits. They call me when she comes into the hospital for whatever problem, when she's in labor. And so basically you're on call all the time, all the time, all the time. And it has shown to be amongst many different groups, not just family docs, to be an unsustainable way to practice medicine.
I'd always been used to working in collaboration. As I said, in the UK we look after high-risk ladies, so we work in collaboration. We don't actually transfer care to the obstetricians, we just work in collaboration with them. So when I came to High River, and there's a group of family doctors who collaborate, looking after each other's family practice, ladies who were pregnant, and there was a shortage. It was actually the obstetrician down here in High River suggested, well, why don't you use a midwife? There's a midwife here, just find some way to fund her, and she can do exactly what you guys do in a low risk setting, so why don't you try that?
That model created a mutual respect among primary care providers, and an understanding, and actually looking over the shoulder, what are you doing and what are you doing, more in an interest of how can we do things differently. Why do some patients decide midwife and why do some decide physician? And if you can provide both of those in one facility, you take away that question for mom and she can more focus on her pregnancy.
As I say, it's got to be that right relationship, and I think a respectful relationship, and just an understanding that we all want the same thing, a safe mum, safe baby, the best experience we can make it be.
So that model gives you really a good sense of collaboration, and for me, where currently access and information to the patient is crucial and we should always protect that, that improves access for the patient.
On a personal note, as a physician, it's always miraculous. It's happy medicine, which a lot of medicine isn't. And I always feel sort of privileged to be a part of it. It's a different experience for everybody. And it's interesting to see people as they sort of proceed through that journey, because I've yet to see one that's the same.
Rocky Mountain House has sort of like a very blended models. We have the full functioning separate entity midwife group that are functioning on their own and deliver in the facility with the backup support of the family physician group. Though they are two separate groups, that means the patients can attach them either to the physicians or the midwives. So either the midwife group will deliver their patient or the physician group will deliver their patient group. That also creates a slower interaction, but also an interaction of how we can promote mutual respect for each other's roles. It also improves access because the patient is being given now choices.
I think our model of care that we've been able to establish here is really, it's not unique to Rocky because I think it could be replicated in a lot of rural communities. The key to working well in a rural community is having many practitioners integrated and well integrated in a care team. So we work very closely with the family physicians in our medical clinic, with our nurse practitioner, with the public health nurses. We really see ourselves as totally integrated into our hospital setting here. We do offer home birth as well, but we don't work in isolation. So there's lots of rural communities in Alberta who need midwives, and if those midwives are able to envision working in a collaborative care team, they will be successful.
Welcome back. In this segment, we're going to continue to speak with the midwives in Rocky Mountain House, and you'll get to hear about the amazing work that they're doing with First Nations communities in that region. You'll also hear about a wonderful woman by the name of Sandy Livingston. She was a nurse that had a vision to bring midwifery to First Nations. And finally, we'll talk about the benefits that midwifery has brought to those communities.
We have the midwives doing primary outreach maternity care to the reserves though. And they are taking responsibility of that with the backup support of the physicians. That role is a whole different concept of how we can look after marginalized communities and improve equity for those communities.
I've lived in Rocky for more than my son's 34, so 34 years we've been in Rocky, and I'd never been able to offer care to the First Nations communities because of the barriers about funding. But I had a good friend, her name was Sandy Livingston. She was the nurse in charge. I'm gonna have a shed a tear, she's not with us anymore, but she was the nurse in charge at O'Cheese, and a remarkable woman with a vision and a passion for that community. And our sons played soccer together, so on the side of the soccer field, we would chat about. I also have a nursing degree, so we chat about nursing, and she just kept saying, "I just wish we could get a midwife out on the community. You could make such a difference. It would be so great for the women." And so we kind of hatched this plot. The seeds of it started on the side of a soccer field, and Sandy was extremely, it was critical. Her involvement made the project happen. She was a remarkable woman, and we had to have chief and council. You must, when you're working on a First Nations community, respect it is their land, and so the band and chief and council had to be on board. And Sandy, when she made the presentation, they trusted Sandy, and they grabbed onto the vision, and it unrolled. The vision was to take the care out to communities out west. Rather than making 20 to 30 women come in a week to see where there's real difficulty with medical transport, babysitting, etc., we established a maternity day on each reserve, and I went to the health center, took the clinic computer and had an EMR out there, and we opened a prenatal clinic. And it was a very open day, and First Nations and Inuit Health provided some funding to we had cooking and sewing, and the elders would come. And so the women began to have a place to drop in every Tuesday. The rate of preterm birth has dropped. The success of breastfeeding has increased. Women accessing care in the first trimester has totally improved. About 3 years ago, we initiated a texting line for our First Nations clients, which is unique in the province because many of the women don't have access to cell minutes, but they mainly would have cell phones. So we have a 24/7 texting line for the women who are able to access us night and day, the midwife on call, and it's been remarkable how well it's been used. And it's helped to establish that bond of trust that, well, I have a caregiver that is there when I need them.
To summarize that, physicians and midwives working together provides a significantly better obstetrical experience for any mother.
There are lots of ways that the relationship between the different maternity care providers, both together and with moms and in the community, can grow and develop and advance. And I think it's exciting times in terms of how things have changed.
Every time I come in here and I deliver a baby, I have this extraordinary feeling of awe, of amazement and humility at how wonderful it is that I've been allowed to share in this experience. It's just been an incredible part of my life. There is nothing else like that.
Giving birth is one of the most profoundly life-altering experiences that a woman will have in her life. And as we've heard today, it's extremely important that she be surrounded by people that she trusts and that loves her. It's your body, it's your birth, it's your baby. It's your choice who accompanies you on the transformation to parenthood. I'm Dr. Lolly DeYoung. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you'll join us for future episodes.